Let's talk about the last 2 days in the Big Brother 26 house. I will say it's been nice to see some people play a little less passive and, more importantly, start playing their own individual games. I'm going to start, I believe, with the whole Joseph floater game that he's doing. I think I have to give Joseph the most credit in this video because I feel like he really does have a good floater game going on. Pretty much a rat game of his own going on because he has little connections here and there, but they're not like super close like this. And he doesn't, spill too much information like Quinn, who wanted to play the rat game, but I mean, his version of the rat game is just tell everyone everything. That's not a rat game. That's just a bad game. But Joseph, he's been able to go back and forth playing both Tucker and Quinn and playing the collective side of things while also, trying to mingle with Leah. Joseph has a lot of smaller connections, and I think that allows him to be able to go back and forth between people. And I think he has quite the good floater game on his hands. We'll talk a little bit more about him later. Another situation I haven't been able to talk about yet, because this is my first video in 2 days, is the other night when Angela was basically kind of begging to join the alliance between, well, it was Tucker, Rubina, T-Core, and Chemo talking. Angela saw them talking, wanted to join their alliance, even though that wasn't really a real alliance going on. I saw people getting upset with the fact that T-Core and Chemo were talking about how they want to kind of rat that alliance out right away to Brooklyn and Chelsea, which, by the way, is dumb. Don't get me wrong. My main concern where T-Core is with Chelsea and Brooklyn is that she knows about the Pentagon and they have not told her about the Pentagon. So her always relaying this kind of information to Chelsea and Brooklyn is very dumb. However, the very next morning, Tucker already rented out that alliance to Joseph. And this comes after Tucker already suspects the thing between Joseph and Quinn's one of Tucker's main targets. So this was just a good reminder that Tucker sucks at this game pretty bad too. Tucker might be the second worst person at the game. I mean, Angela and Tucker are terrible at this game. I mean, that's kind of why I like their duos, because it's just two terrible players, but two players that are very entertaining, getting to cause some havoc together. They're great at causing havoc. They're great at causing chaos. They're great at competitions, frankly. But at the game, pretty trash. So yeah, I found it annoying that people get mad at T-Core for telling this information, which is fair, but Tucker's just as bad, if not worse. The players as a whole, just like last season, too much yapping. They talk too much. They give away too much information. There's just no finesse in Big Brother players these days. And it gets frustrating to watch after a while. Now, another thing that kind of annoyed me over the past 2 days is MJ's just utter lack of campaigning, not knowing how to campaign. She's on the block. She needs advice how to campaign, how to stay. She's been a very much non-factor in the game because she has literally no social game. I get it because she's boring as a person, so maybe that translates to her bad social game. I guess. I don't know what else it is. But yeah, she has very little connections going on in that house. So she should be doing the most campaigning, but she's probably done the least campaigning of the three people on the block. In fact, Cedric, who in theory should be the safest out of the three, has done the most campaigning. There's all this talk that the house needs to flip on Cedric, and we're going to talk about it a little more here, and I kind of see it, but like, Rubina and MJ are such non-factors, not just in the game, but on feeds. It's hard for me at this point to even call MJ and Rubina players. Until I actually start them to see them play the game, I don't even want to refer to them as players because they're not playing, in my opinion. Their lack of being able to campaign is bad. And Cedric at least campaigns. He brings a much more dynamic game than anything MJ or Rubina are bringing. So if Cedric stays and there's no flip, I'm not going to be upset about it because I much prefer watching Cedric play the game, even though he's played it poorly, than watching MJ and Rubina not play the game. The only good thing I've seen Rubina do in the first month of this game came yesterday when she, was actually trying to pimp out Tucker, saying that Tucker needs to campaign to Leah with his shirt off because there's this crush that Leah has on Tucker. I found that funny. I found that amusing. I found that almost Rubina playing the game. But outside of that, she needs to step it up. I won't be sad if Rubina leaves, even though it could be bad for the numbers in the house. But outside of her being a number, I need her to play more in order to enjoy her more. Now, speaking of people I don't enjoy, let's touch upon Brooklyn again. I think I've gone many videos in a row now talking shit about Brooklyn, and that's going to continue. Because I said several videos ago now that Brooklyn is bossy, and her bossy side is coming out more and more. And I don't know if it's just bossiness, if it may just be she's a very controlling individual. She's wanting to take a lot of control in that Pentagon alliance. She's very loyal to that Pentagon alliance. But in doing so, she's become quite cocky. And for a person who's been in every veto so far and won 0, also won 0 HOHs, she's talking a lot of crap about people that have won competitions, like Angela, who's won 2 HOHs. And Brooklyn has this confidence that she can win the next comp. And she's even talking shit about T-Core and Chemo and why it doesn't matter. They don't really matter to the O Alliance, because there's this whole vote this week. They might vote to keep Rubina. And Brooklyn's saying they don't matter to the Alliance because they can't win competitions. Chemo's won a competition, though, by the way, and Brooklyn's won 0. So, yeah, I think a lot of Brooklyn's shit qualities that I figured would come out in my cast assessment of her because of people that she's friends with. The cockiness, the overconfidence, the thinking that the Pentagon are ready or at the final 5. And this whole duo between her and Chelsea is just bringing them both down. I've given Chelsea her flowers up to this point because she has been the best player. And people in the game see her as the best player. Joseph, Quinn recognize Chelsea's good game, but they also recognize this duo between her and Brooklyn. And I am starting to think that Chelsea may have peaked in the game. She's the best player, but she's growing her target. And Chelsea's attitude isn't that much better than Brooklyn's. She's kind of getting cocky herself. With this whole Pentagon thing, there's more than double 5 people left in the game. For this alliance of 5 to get down to 5, and this obliviousness that nobody knows about the Pentagon when Quinn's ratted it out to so many people, is funny. But yeah, Chelsea, Brooklyn being seen more and more as a duo, it's bad for both of them. And a good riddance to Brooklyn because I hate her. Now let's talk about the flip, I suppose. Or the almost flip. And Chemo wanting to flip. Chemo's finally had a fire lit under his ass to at least kind of take some actions and not just talk about them. I think Chemo does definitely want to flip this week no matter who is on the block. He wants to keep both Rubino or MJ, whoever's against Cedric. And it's good to see this from Chemo. Now, I kind of wish it wasn't just because Chemo has this crush on Tucker. And Tucker's very good at playing it up with the whole massages. He's good at playing up Tucker's crush on him to get what he wants from Tucker. But yeah, it's annoying because Chemo knows, or should know, it's just Tucker playing this up. But whatever. At least it lit a fire under Chemo's ass a little bit to try and make this flip happen. But then there's T-Core on the other side of this. And Cedric going over MJ especially this week does not make sense for T-Core's game. And it's good to see T-Core actually see this for her own individual game. Now, I think it's really stupid of Chemo and T-Core to be seen as such a duo themselves. I talk about Chelsea and Brooklyn being seen as a duo, You have Chemo and T-Core talking to nominees as a twosome. Not having the campaigning one-on-one, you have Cedric talking to those two as a twosome because they're such seen as a duo. And I think that's bad for them. To be seen as a duo this early, one of them is eventually going to be in trouble when those two are sitting their asses on the block because they're seen as such a duo. And what annoys me of them being seen as such a duo is that they have two separate games of which best for their games. They have different, connections in that house. If they could have been more secretive about this duo, it would have been more dangerous. But of course, these days, apparently in Big Brother, there's just no finesse. Everybody talks too much. Everybody plays straight to everyone. Look at us. We're a duo. But I'm glad to see that individually they are kind of seeing what's best for their own games. It doesn't make any sense for T-Core to vote out Cedric over MJ. There's no connection there between T-Core and MJ. And there's not really that much of a connection between Chemo and MJ either. But I think there's not really a connection between Chemo and Cedric on a game level either. Where Cedric does try a lot with T-Core. He tries with Chemo too. But I feel like they have more of a personal relationship. Sometimes I do feel like T-Core can be too much into her personal relationships rather than game relationships and wanting to work with people she likes rather than people that are better for her game. In this case, though, Cedric staying over MJ is best for T-Core's game. Just don't get that twisted. I know a lot of people, including myself, can get upset with T-Core for not taking enough actions. But in this case, it is more smart of her on a game level to not take those actions against Cedric, if it is Cedric and MJ left on the block. Now, if it's Cedric and Rubina, that's where things get tricky. Who's the better number for them there? It is probably Rubina. And I think it will be hard for T-Core to vote out Cedric. But if they could get the numbers, then maybe they should do it. Now, they tried to get the numbers from Quinn, who wasn't really on board because they're trying to get Quinn to work with Tucker. And, Quinn, who's played such a trash game so far, it's interesting to now see him try and play this level-headed game when for 4 weeks he's been playing so terrible. But Quinn working with Tucker is not going to be good for Quinn. It's just not going to work. Tucker's not going to go for that for long. And so I think that would be an actual dangerous move for Quinn to do at this point in the game. I'd like to see scenarios where two rivals can work together and, keep that under wraps. But it's hard to pull off. Nearly impossible to pull off. And it almost never works because they're so paranoid about each other. And I think that would be the case here. But also it turns out, or so it seems, that Quinn can't actually vote this week. It's been unclear, but I think that's best for the twist. It was seeming so overpowered. It's still overpowered that he got to completely take over HOH. But yeah, it would be super overpowered if he could also vote. But it's starting to look like Quinn cannot vote this week. And that Angela can play in the next HOH. So that's good for Angela. I hope Angela wins back-to-back HOHs. And now we have a cracked HOH from Angela that we should have got this week. Instead of Quinn's boring week that I find it to be so far. It has been better over the past 24 hours. But as a whole this week, the twist has been bad because Quinn ruined it and made the week boring. So if they can't get Quinn as a number, who do they get as a number to flip? They talked to Joseph about it. And Joseph is acting like he's on board. But I don't think he wants to do it this soon. And he did tell them it's looking a little too soon to flip on Cedric. And for Joseph's game, like I discussed at the beginning of this video, him playing this floater game that I think he's doing a good job of, it probably is too soon for Joseph's game to flip on Cedric right now, because I think he has a good connection with Cedric and Cedric trusts him, and it would help Joseph's floater game. If Cedric stays around, I think of the three, Joseph probably actually has a worse relationship with Rubina. So, yeah, I don't know if Joseph's that number. So then there's Leah. And there's been some campaigning from Rubina to Leah. And Leah has it in her head, in Leah's twisted head, because, in my opinion, Leah does still have this crush on Tucker, and she can't believe that Tucker's going for Rubina over him. And so in Leah's mind, to save her ego or whatever, she's giving Rubina this advice about how she wants to keep Rubina here so that she could play her own individual game away from Tucker. Whatever, Leah. Leah's pretty much a non-factor too, but she could be a number for this potential flip. But then it still also falls on, will T-Core actually flip on Cedric? And in my opinion, if it's Rubina and Cedric on the block, she should. But if it's MJ and Cedric on the block, she should not. And then if it's MJ and Rubina on the block, I think MJ is just going home regardless in that situation. But that is kind of where it all stands. To me, the best thing I could say for the past 24 hours is that there are more players playing less passive, but more importantly, playing for their own individual games. And there is some nuance there. And I hope I was able to kind of get that out in this video, because I see people wanting this flip so bad. And sure, it would be better TV maybe. But also for me personally, yes, I love Tucker and Angela as a duo because they are so ridiculous. But like on a game level, they absolutely suck. And Tucker absolutely sucks. And he's not doing a very good job of getting this flip himself. It really is Chemo and T-Core that or can make or break this from happening. And so I like that this position that they're in, and I've been hard on them about their discussions that go in circles, and I still think it's really stupid that they're seen as such a duo already. Like they're taking one-on-ones as a two-on-ones is just bad gameplay. But it's nice to see them both kind of do their own individual thing over the past 24 hours. And, you know, Chemo's trying to talk T-Core into it. But Chemo's not the best ally to T-Core as it is. We've seen that so far this season. So I hope T-Core continues to do her own thing and trust her own gut in this situation for whatever this vote will be, whoever is left on the block together. I'm sure there could be more discussions later tonight. We'll see who's actually on the block after the AI arena. We'll also see what the new twist is. I'm a little worried. I'm afraid I'm going to hate it. I don't know what it is, but I'm probably going to hate it because that's Big Brother's track record. But yeah, anyway, I am glad to see some individual games being played, and I want to give the biggest ups to Joseph. I'm liking his floater game right now. I still think it's weird that he's delusional that he is like the head of the collective and that he's kind of running the collective, but at the same time, he knows about the Pentagon, and he's having these discussions with Chemo and T-Core about how he might turn on this alliance, even though he thinks he's the head of the alliance. There's some confusion there. You know, Joseph's thought process sometimes, I don't know if it's ego or just delusion, but it could be a little much. But as a floater, he's doing a really good job maneuvering.